The Gollywhopper Games by Jody Feldman. This is Chapter 9. Gil stopped cold, then backed behind a bank of bushes near the top of their street. He gestured with his chin. TV trucks, Gil's dad said. Should have known. Gil should have known too. Reporters always come back. They'd camped outside Gil's house for a week after the arrest. They returned during the trial. They stayed after the verdict until other news moved them to a different location. At first, they acted so nice, like they were trying to get the Goodson's side of the story. It turned out, though, they wanted to be heroes and find the one piece of evidence that would prove his dad guilty. Now they were back in force today, but with their national media buddies. Well, said his dad, we have three choices. We call the police and issue a nuisance complaint, which will give us bad press again. We sneak around Jonathan Street and try to slip inside the back door unnoticed, but we already know that won't work. Or, said Gil, said Gil. Let's do the or. I think our official line is no comment, said his dad. That's always safest. Ready? The media swarmed toward them like a wave of gnats, flapping their cameras, recorders, notepads, and flashes. How can you be eligible? How'd you know the answers? Is this revenge? Gil kept his eyes on his target, the front door. If he could make it through, smiling and silent, he'd win this round. Gil's dad put an arm around his shoulders. Together they strode onto their lawn and up the two porch steps. Instead of turning his key in the lock, Gil's dad turned and faced the crowd. And here are all the reporters waiting for them at their front door. I've been silent for 18 months, he said, and I'd prefer to remain that way. But when you ask insinuating questions of a 12-year-old boy, I can't, as a father, remain silent. So, all I will say is this. See this strong young man who stands in front of you? He wants only one thing today and tomorrow. He wants to find some joy in life by playing a game. Playing a game. It's as simple as that. So please leave him alone when he eats tonight. Leave him alone to sleep. And tomorrow morning let him play, just as you'd want your own children to do. Now, good evening. He turned, opened the door, and shuttled Gil inside. You shouldn't have, Dad, Gil said. They'll put it on the news and in the... His dad shook his head. You didn't notice, did you? He nudged open a corner of the living room curtain. Bert Gollywhop's limo. See? Behind the Channel 4 news truck? This isn't the publicity he wants, I guarantee. Bert Gollywhop, flanked on one side by a police officer and on the other by a woman in a suit, cut through the reporters and up to the Goodson's front stoop. Gil's dad opened the door to let him in. Bert, he said, coming to arrest me again? Mr. Gollywhop let out a fake laugh. Oh, no, Charles, no. I'm trying to quiet this little situation. Be my guest, said Gil's dad, but why the police? Me? Coming into a semifinalist's house? Don't want to give an air of impropriety. Officer Lane is here as a witness. So is Samantha Phillips from the commission that oversees rules and procedures. Officer Lane, Miss Phillips, I respect your position, said Gil's dad, so please don't take this as an attack on your integrity, but I feel the need to call in a couple witnesses of my own. Who do you have in mind? Asked Bert. Charles Goodson opened the front door. Excuse me, he called to the reporters. Claire Dawson? Mike Owens? Are you there? Reporters from the Orchard Heights Times and the Channel 5 News came forward. Dad, said Gil, but those two, they were the fair ones. Tough but fair. He motioned them inside, told them why they were there, and asked them to turn on their recorders. Now please, Bert, you were saying. I was saying that I came as a courtesy to quiet the situation on the street. That's all. I'm afraid you've wasted the reporter's time. Don't worry about our time, said Mike Owens. Now off the record, Bert. Awkward situation. The son of a fired executive in the round of 10. Any comment? Bert Gollywhop stared at the reporters. Off the record? Turn those recorders off. They did. Off the record, I have a multi-billion-dollar corporation to run and shareholders to consider. Any leader of any company would have nightmares from a situation like this. Bert Gollywhop pointed at Gil. I wish he weren't in the Gollywhopper Games. I don't think it sounds right. I don't think it smells right. I don't think it looks right. Even if the officials say it's all right, it's not. It's all wrong. He looked at Gil's dad. How much did you help your kid inside the stadium? He didn't help me at all, said Gil, and I have my own 2 witnesses to prove it. Gil, it's okay, said his dad. No, I have 3 more witnesses. Gil raced to his room, grabbed his notebooks, and ran back, holding them high. These are mine. I spent 6 months putting them together by myself. I memorized everything inside. Just ask me. Your company discontinued 5 products last year, including the ping pong line. When Goldtega Company opened on the stock market, it sold for $6 a share. What else? You, Mr. Gollywhop, were born on August 23rd, 12 days after the company opened for business. And the G of your middle name stands for Gilbert, which didn't excite me when I found out. You want more? He thrust the notebooks toward Mr. Gollywhop. I worked hard to get here, maybe harder than any kid in that stadium. I wouldn't take anything I didn't earn. Neither would my dad. And if you think you can go around accusing... Gil, said his dad. Hold on, said Bert Gollywhop. I'm not taking you to court over this, son. Son? So many words tried to race from Gil's mouth that they stumbled over his tongue and struck him silent. I simply want you to know, Gil, that we have 10 alternate contestants for the Gollywhopper Games. Except for the one winner, all of them will receive the same prizes. If you don't want this heat, you can trade your spot with an alternate and collect your parting gifts. Gil opened his mouth to speak. Before you answer, said Mr. Gollywhop, also understand that if you stay, you'll have more TV cameras and microphones pointed at you than all the other kids combined, and there's nothing I can do about that. It could be very uncomfortable. Think about it, son. It may be in your family's best interest if you relinquished your spot. I understand everything, said Gil. See you tomorrow. Very well. Bert Gollywhop nodded, opened the door, and walked directly toward the reporters, who began shouting questions at him. He held up his hands, brought his palms down, quieting them. I was inside talking to one of our contestants, assuring him that he'll be treated no differently than any other. So if you plan to retain your press passes for tomorrow and for any future Golly event, you'd be wise to pack up immediately and stay at least 3 blocks away. And people, keep your focus on the Gollywhopper Games, not on ancient history.